Some tornadoes leave behind more than shattered homes. They leave behind billions of dollars in damage. From storms that devastated entire cities to disasters that forever change communities. These are the top 10 costliest tornadoes in U.S. history. All damage estimates in this countdown have been adjusted for inflation, and rankings may vary slightly depending on the source. Let's begin. Number 10. Windsor Locks, Connecticut. On October 3, 1979, a violent F4 tornado tore through Windsor Locks, Connecticut, before continuing into western Massachusetts, becoming one of the most destructive tornadoes ever recorded in New England. Homes were ripped apart as apartment buildings, warehouses, and businesses collapsed beneath the powerful winds. One of the hardest hit locations was Bradley International Airport, where hangars were heavily damaged, aircraft were tossed across the airfield, and airport operations came to a complete stop. Streets quickly disappeared beneath fallen trees, power lines, twisted steel, and piles of debris. By the time the tornado finally lifted, 3 people had lost their lives, hundreds more had been injured, and thousands of structures had been damaged or destroyed. The storm caused an estimated $1.78 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes ever recorded in the northeastern United States. More than 4 decades later, the Windsor Locks tornado remains a reminder that even regions outside Tornado Alley can experience catastrophic and incredibly expensive tornado disasters. Number 9. Bridge Creek Moor, Oklahoma. On May 3, 1999, one of the most violent tornadoes ever observed swept across central Oklahoma during a historic tornado outbreak, leaving a trail of destruction through Bridge Creek, Moor, and surrounding communities. Entire neighborhoods were swept from their foundations as hundreds of homes simply disappeared. Schools, shopping centers, office buildings, and local businesses suffered catastrophic damage, while vehicles were thrown through the air and trees were stripped completely bare. Mobile Doppler radar later measured winds exceeding 300 miles per hour, the highest wind speeds ever recorded inside a tornado. When the storm finally ended, 36 people had lost their lives, and thousands of homes had been destroyed or severely damaged. The tornado caused an estimated $1.85 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes in United States history. More than 2 decades later, it continues to be studied as one of the most powerful tornadoes ever documented. Number 8. North Dallas, Richardson, Texas. On October 20, 2019, a powerful EF3 tornado carved a path through North Dallas and Richardson, striking one of the most densely developed urban areas in Texas. The tornado tore through residential neighborhoods before slamming into shopping centers, office buildings, schools, churches, and major retail stores. Thousands of homes suffered damage while businesses were left with collapsed roofs, shattered windows, and walls ripped apart by powerful winds. Large trees crashed onto streets, utility poles snapped in half, and traffic signals were scattered across major intersections, bringing much of the city to a standstill. Although no lives were lost, the widespread destruction was staggering. The tornado caused an estimated $1.87 billion in damage, proving that even an EF3 tornado can generate enormous financial losses when it strikes a major metropolitan area filled with homes, businesses, and critical infrastructure. Number 7. Lubbock, Texas. On May 11, 1970, a devastating F5 tornado tore directly through the heart of Lubbock, striking one of the city's busiest commercial districts and leaving widespread destruction across homes, businesses, and public buildings. Downtown office buildings lost entire walls as storefronts collapsed onto the streets below. Banks, hotels, factories, schools, and neighborhoods suffered extensive damage, while hundreds of vehicles were crushed beneath falling debris. Entire city blocks were transformed into fields of twisted steel, broken concrete, shattered glass, and overturned vehicles as emergency crews struggled to reach survivors through blocked roads. By the time the tornado finally lifted, 26 people had lost their lives, and thousands more had been left without homes or businesses. The storm caused an estimated $1.98 billion in damage, making it one of the most expensive tornadoes ever recorded in Texas. The disaster permanently changed building practices throughout the region and remains one of Lubbock's darkest days. Number 6. Topeka, Kansas. On June 8, 1966, a violent F5 tornado tore directly through the capital city of Kansas, becoming one of the most destructive tornadoes of its generation. The tornado carved through residential neighborhoods before smashing into schools, churches, hospitals, manufacturing plants, and the city's business district. Entire blocks were left unrecognizable as brick buildings collapsed, homes were swept away, and vehicles were tossed through the air. Roads became buried beneath mountains of debris, while thousands of families were forced to flee as emergency crews worked around the clock to rescue survivors. When the tornado finally dissipated, 16 people had lost their lives and hundreds more had been injured. It caused an estimated $2.36 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes in United States history. The destruction reshaped much of Topeka and demonstrated how quickly a powerful tornado could overwhelm an entire city. Number 5. Moore, Oklahoma. For the people of Moore, memories of the devastating 1999 tornado had never completely faded before another violent EF5 tornado struck on May 20th, 2013. Once again, one of Oklahoma's most tornado-prone communities found itself directly in the path of a catastrophic storm. As the tornado strengthened, it tore through densely populated neighborhoods, destroying thousands of homes along with schools, shopping centers, restaurants, and medical facilities. Entire subdivisions were reduced to empty foundations, while vehicles were tossed through the air and debris covered nearly every roadway. Teachers risked their own lives protecting students as emergency crews raced toward the destruction. By the time the tornado finally lifted, 24 people had lost their lives and hundreds more had been injured. The storm caused an estimated $2.65 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes ever recorded in the United States. More than a decade later, Moore remains a powerful reminder that even communities experienced with severe weather are never fully prepared for nature at its most violent. If you're enjoying this countdown so far, don't forget to subscribe to EpicWildSphere for more documentaries covering the world's most powerful natural disasters. Now let's continue. Number 4. Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Alabama. On April 27, 2011, a massive EF4 tornado carved a devastating path through Tuscaloosa before continuing toward Birmingham, striking two of Alabama's largest population centers during the historic 2011 super outbreak. Apartment complexes collapsed as businesses, schools, churches, and entire residential neighborhoods were torn apart within minutes. Major highways became blocked by overturned vehicles, fallen trees, shattered utility poles, and twisted steel, while emergency responders struggled to reach survivors trapped beneath collapsed buildings. Entire sections of the city looked more like disaster zones than thriving communities. When the tornado finally dissipated, 64 people had lost their lives, and more than 1,000 others had been injured. The storm caused an estimated $3.3 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes in United States history. The scale of the destruction left scars that would take years to rebuild, and remains one of the defining disasters of the 2011 super outbreak. Number 3. Joplin, Missouri. On May 22, 2011, a violent EF5 tornado tore directly through Joplin, becoming one of the deadliest and most destructive tornadoes ever to strike an American city. Entire neighborhoods were swept from their foundations as schools, churches, apartment complexes, shopping centers, and businesses disappeared beneath mountains of debris. One of the city's major hospitals suffered catastrophic damage, forcing patients and medical staff to evacuate, while emergency crews searched the surrounding rubble for survivors. Street after street became almost impossible to recognize as vehicles, trees, and power lines covered every roadway. By the time the tornado finally lifted, 158 people had lost their lives, and more than 1,000 others had been injured. The storm caused an estimated $3.8 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes in American history. More than a decade later, Joplin stands as both a symbol of unimaginable destruction and the resilience of a community determined to rebuild. Number 2. St. Louis East, St. Louis, Missouri and Illinois. On May 27, 1896, one of the most destructive tornadoes ever to strike an American city tore directly through St. Louis and East St. Louis, leaving catastrophic destruction across one of the nation's busiest urban centers. The tornado demolished entire city blocks as brick homes, factories, warehouses, churches, railroad facilities, and commercial buildings collapsed beneath the violent winds. Bridges, streetcar lines, and essential infrastructure suffered extensive damage, while fires broke out across parts of the city, adding even more devastation. Thousands of people were left homeless as rescue crews searched through mountains of brick, timber, and twisted metal. When the disaster finally ended, at least 255 people had lost their lives. The tornado caused an estimated $5.9 billion in damage, making it one of the costliest tornadoes ever recorded in United States history. More than a century later, it remains one of the greatest urban weather disasters the country has ever experienced. Number 1. Tri-State Tornado. On March 18, 1925, the deadliest tornado in United States history carved an extraordinary path across Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, remaining on the ground for more than 200 miles as it destroyed nearly everything in its path. Entire towns were devastated as homes, schools, factories, farms, railroads, and businesses were swept away with little or no warning. Communities that had stood for generations were reduced to fields of splintered lumber, twisted metal, and scattered debris within minutes. Survivors describe skies turning almost completely black before violent winds erased entire neighborhoods, leaving rescue crews overwhelmed by the scale of the destruction. By the time the tornado finally lifted, an astonishing 751 people had lost their lives, making it the deadliest tornado ever recorded in the United States. The storm caused an estimated $6.0 billion in damage, securing its place as the costliest tornado in American history. More than 100 years later, the Tri-State Tornado remains the benchmark against which every major tornado disaster is measured. From New England to the heart of Tornado Alley, these tornadoes left behind billions of dollars in damage, while forever changing the communities they struck. Although no two storms are exactly alike, each one demonstrates how quickly powerful tornadoes can transform thriving neighborhoods, businesses, schools, hospitals, and entire cities into landscapes of devastation. If you enjoyed this countdown, be sure to subscribe to EpicWildSphere for more documentaries covering the world's most powerful natural disasters. And if there's another top 10 you'd like to see, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.